Heute ist der äh, 29. August. Das ist Samstag, Saturday, August 29th. And it is now Saturday evening, about 8:45. Our two girls are out babysitting. The boy just went up for a shower. Nancy's doing some laundry. I'm working at my desk in the basement of our duplex. We have actually two rooms down in the basement, plus a laundry room, and in fact a shower stall. But it's rather depressing in the rooms. It's not they're really not furnished or appointed rooms. They're just separated areas. But managed to spruce it up a little bit by putting in a couple of throw rugs that were left here with the duplex, and put those under the desk chair that I have, and also have the computer down here, and have a throw rug under there. So the kids have been using the computer a fair amount since we got it hooked up about 2 weeks ago. Just thought I'd try to bring you up to date on what's been going on over here and find out what's been going on over there. I guess our big news since we taped last is that we just had a mini holiday to Italy, and it was highlighted by a day in Venice. I guess I'm going to be jumping all over the place here, so what I might do is give a bit of background as to why we went to Italy. Nancy had suggested that we should take advantage of something similar to this, that we should really take advantage of the summer weather that we may have, and do as much traveling as we can early on, and then try to use the days when the weather isn't quite so nice for catching up on such things as continually unpacking. So here we are, August 29th, in our duplex, and we still haven't really sorted out the major pieces of furniture, put paintings up on the wall, things like that, which I'm sure you will appreciate is not unusual for us. But this time, really, we did have some conscious reasonings for delaying, in that we wanted to, as often as we could, take off, make day trips into the town, or to see some of the really important sites in Munich, or to take off in the countryside, do a little bit of traveling, look at the scenery and things like that. So I think we've really been very fortunate in that we've been able to get out a fair amount and see quite a bit of the surrounding countryside and, as I say, the city itself in the short time that we've been here. But in addition to that, Nancy suggested that it would be nice to go into a different culture, just for a change of pace. And Italy being so different and only a couple of hours from here, we thought we would take a short jaunt down there. And so, as it turns out, I have leave to use or lose as well, and so I'd requested to have last Friday, that was would have been the 21st, and Monday and Tuesday following as days off. And our original intent was to go down to a village near here, about 45 minutes or so from here, called Bad Tolz, on Friday, where they were having a parachute contest, competition for 13 countries. But as things progressed on that particular Friday, we started doing some things around the house with the intent of going down in the afternoon, but we got involved in trying to sort through some of the things in the house, and then ultimately didn't really feel as though we had the time that we would have liked. And we wanted to get an early start the next day for Italy anyhow, so we decided not to do that. But we did then on the following day, Saturday morning, get a fairly early start for Italy. Fairly early for us, I guess, is about 9 o'clock. One of the reasons we didn't get off earlier, actually, is that there's a U.S. facilities spot where we were hoping to stay for the night because of the cost would be a little bit better with the lodgings that they have there. And they operate their facility in such a way that they will not take bookings in advance, but rather on the day that you would like to stay, they will start taking calls at 6 a.m. for reservations for that evening. So I had started calling at 6 a.m. with the thought in mind that we'd make reservations and then immediately leave. But as it turns out, I had been given an incorrect number, and so when I made the call and the number that I thought was correct, I would get a busy signal. And this continued, and I thought, well, they're just, a lot of people want to stay there, and it's very popular, and so therefore that's why I was busy. And I kept trying and dialing for just about a full hour until I finally, in disgust, gave up, and I decided to call the operator just to confirm the number. As it turns out, I had been given the correct number, but in dialing instructions, I had been told to dial 0039 or whatever it was for the country, and then 0444 or something like that for the city. And when you dial from Munich, you're to drop that 0 and then city code. So all that hour I had been calling an incorrect number. So that kind of delayed us, and as it turns out, I did get through then to the correct number, and they did have room for us if we could be there by 4 p.m. So we did get off then about 9 o'clock, and the place that we were heading for, if you had a map handy, that's within about 45 minutes of Venice, is a city called Vicenza. There's a U.S. Army facility there at Vicenza, and that's the place where we wanted to have a lodging for the night. So leaving at 9 o'clock and not having to be there until 4 o'clock, we figured we had plenty of time. Not so, because as we headed south on the Autobahn towards Garmisch, which was on the way to Italy, direction we were taking, we wanted to go to Garmisch and have breakfast at the General Patton Hotel, which is a Armed Forces Recreation Center facility in Garmisch. And as we approached Garmisch, we found ourselves in a Stau, S-T-A-U, which is a traffic jam. And we ended up spending about 45 minutes to an hour in that traffic jam, just a few miles shy of Garmisch before we finally got into Garmisch, only to get to the hotel and find out that we had missed their breakfast hour, because we were there about, I guess by that time it was about 10:30, and or a little after 10:30, and they stopped serving breakfast at 10. So we decided to, since we had lost that time anyhow, we didn't have we were getting such a slow move down to Italy that we decided just to go ahead and accede to our backup plan for breakfast, which was McDonald's right in Garmisch. Incidentally, they had that McDonald's in Garmisch the last time we were there in 1980, so it's been around for a while. In fact, they now have one just up the street from the McDonald's. They have a Wendy's. So it seems as though the U.S. is taking over many of the places like Garmisch in their cultural influences. But very much to their credit, the McDonald's and Wendy's really blend in with the architecture of the Garmisch itself, and so it's not really too out of the way or too obnoxious. But anyhow, we had actually it was turned out to be lunch by that time, items from McDonald's, and then we proceeded to head south towards Italy, and going through or skirting the city of Innsbruck. So we went down through Innsbruck and then crossed the Brenner Pass and into northern Italy, where we encountered our second Stau, or I don't know what they call it in Italy, a traffic jam. But in that particular case, they had some construction on the Autostrada, and they had narrowed it down from 2 lanes on the one direction to 1 lane, and we ended up being in that particular traffic jam for a full hour. So once we got through that, and we seemed to be well on our way, and we still appeared as though we could make it, or it was going to be close. That is, making it by 12 or by 4 o'clock. But unfortunately, we took the wrong road. We had missed the one road that would have been the fairly direct link between the city of Trento and Vicenza. And instead, we went further south on the Autostrada past Trento, and Nancy was serving as my navigator, and she noticed a winding country road that was going over towards Vicenza, so we took that. Well, it was definitely a winding country mountain road, but it was very, very pretty, and it was very, very Italian. Unfortunately, it was very, very slow, and as we were realizing very well that we weren't going to make it, we decided to try to call ahead and beg their indulgence and see if they would hold the room for us a little bit later than 4 o'clock. Well, we stopped at one little village up in the side of the mountain where they had a telephone, and had sort of a little bar-like with an outdoor cafe, which is very pretty. But unfortunately, no one there spoke any English, and somehow I managed to convey that I wanted to use the telephone, and we got the telephone tokens that they use for the pay phones. But unfortunately, there was really no instruction how to use the telephone. So I ended up putting about $5 worth of coins into the telephone with absolutely no success whatsoever. And it was totally lost. And worse yet, we didn't make the connection for the folks at Vicenza to hold the room for us. So we thought we were doomed, and but we set out to continue our way. And we figured, well, the very worst situation is that we would end up not being able to stay there and then proceed on to Venice and probably end up paying for a fairly expensive hotel. But nevertheless, we proceeded, and we did drive on then down through the mountain, and it was very, very pretty, and as I say, very, very Italian. And we ended up finally getting to Vicenza and found out where the U.S. facility was, and managed to find our way over to the billeting office. And much to our pleasant surprise, they did have a room for us. And in fact, it was a suite, as they call it, or it's really a mini apartment, which turned out to be very, very nice. And it was $65 for the night, including, it was $20 for me as the sponsor, plus $10 for each dependent. So that was another $40 for Nancy, Robin, Rebecca, and Brian, and $5 for Biscuit. When I had called ahead, I asked about pets, and they says, "Oh yes," they said that they just charged $5 extra for having a pet. So $65 for the night, which wasn't too bad considering that was for all of us, and it was an apartment. And it was very, very nice. And there was a Italian cafe across the street from where we were staying. So we went over there and had a drink after dinner. And it was just a lovely setting. So that was last Saturday. And then on Sunday, we had decided that when we were first looking at going down that way, we thought we perhaps may go as far down the Adriatic coast as Rimini, which is right near the Principality or Independent State of San Marino, which is one of the two countries in Western Europe that we had not visited before, at least set foot in, the other being Finland. So we thought it would be kind of nice to visit San Marino because we had just read about it, as a matter of fact, in the Stars and Stripes newspaper, had a featured article on it. But after having driven down to Vicenza and thinking a little bit more about it, and also practical considerations such as the availability of lead-free gas, Italy has just introduced lead-free gas, and they only have it in very, very few stations. And plus the expense and everything else, we decided that we'd really just rather enjoy the day in Venice the next day, and then take our time in coming back up through the Dolomites and visiting some of the scenic spots along the way there. So that was what we ended up doing. But anyhow, on Sunday morning then, we got up and headed into Venice. And that turned out to be just as simply a magnificent day, with one little glitch for the day, which I'll get to, and I'm sure that you will thoroughly enjoy hearing about that. But I'll keep you in suspense because what I'll do is give you a chronological rundown of the day in Venice. First of all, you drive into a parking area outside the city, since the city consists of canals and waterways as their streets. So you drive into a parking area where you will get you can get a boat ferry over to the city, to the main portion, St. Mark's Square, or you can pay an arm and a leg for a taxi, a water taxi, and there are all kinds of hucksters there. The water taxi guy saw us first, and he tried to get us to take a water taxi, which would have only cost, I think he wanted 80,000 lira. 80,000 lira is approximately, I think, 1,325 lira for the dollar. So 80,000 lira would have been about $60. So we thought that was a little bit high for just getting us from the parking area over to the city. So we passed that one by. But we were encountered by another huckster who offered a boat ride over that would include going down through the Grande Canale, the Grand Canal of the city, and a visit to a glass blowing factory, and a total time of a little over an hour or something like that. Well, as it turns out, it was a little bit of a rip-off, but it wasn't too bad. It was $30, amounted to about $30. I forget what the amount in lira were, but it turns out I had not planned terribly well for a lot of factors, such as the lead-free gas and also the amount of lira. So we were comfortable in being able to use our credit card, but for something like this we couldn't, of course, so we didn't have enough lira, but he was happy to take $30. So for the five of us, plus Biscuit, that wasn't really too bad, because we did, as it turns out, have about an hour's ride on a boat, a motorboat going over to the city and through the city. And so for that kind of feature, it wasn't bad at all. As a matter of fact, on the boat, Brian kind of weaseled his way up to the driver and to see if he could help drive. So the driver let him drive part of the way, steer the boat in the open water. So that was kind of fun for him. And it was nice. It was a beautiful day. It was had to be about 80 degrees and bright and sunny, and just really was a pretty day. So after having done that boat ride, then we started wandering around. They dropped us at St. Mark's Square, which is San Marco Piazza, which is really just a magnificent spot and really the highlight of a visit to Venice. All kinds of tourist shops, of course, and all kinds of restaurants, and all kinds of gift shops, and nice little side streets that you can, narrow streets that have some character to them. And it was really quite nice. And they have all these little bridges going over the canals, and that for walkway purposes, things like that. So we decided that it was actually relatively late in the afternoon, 2 o'clock or so, 2:30, and we hadn't really eaten. So we were really keen on finding a really nice restaurant that would have a nice meal in Venice. And of course it had to take credit cards. That was one of our criteria. So we managed to find a nice little restaurant that looked pretty good, and so we went in there to have our meal. And we had true, real, as Robin calls it, real spaghetti, all 5 of us. The kids having spaghetti with meat sauce sort of thing, and Nancy and I having spaghetti with kind of a seafood based. And it really was very, very good. And, we also had their house wine, and it really was a super meal, really thoroughly enjoyed by all. And we even got a picture of the 5 of us in the restaurant. As the owner, as it turns out, the owner's wife is British, and they needed to translate something for us. So she came out, and we chatted with her for a bit, and she, in fact, ended up taking the picture. So after we left the restaurant, then we started strolling down some of the streets and across some of the little bridges over the canals. And it was really very pretty and very picturesque. And we observed the gondolas and thought long and hard about whether to take a gondola ride, because they are kind of expensive. But we did then send Brian down as our emissary to talk to the gondolier, which was kind of interesting in itself, of course. And then we spoke with them a little bit, and they spoke a little bit of English, not much. I'd had Italian, 1 year of Italian in college, but I don't remember much at all. And in spite of all of that, we were able to convey to them that we really didn't have enough lira, and they would take just about any currency. They certainly wouldn't take a credit card, but so as it turns out, I had some Austrian shillings that I had also gotten at the bank before we left Munich, knowing that we were going to be traveling through Austria. So we tried to figure out how much the Austrian shillings were worth in terms of Italian lira, or in terms of dollars. So we managed to negotiate a price and an amount of time in the gondola of 45 minutes. So we all got into the gondola then, and this gondolier, again, we got some photographs of him, and several photographs while we were on the gondola ride. And it really was just super. It was very peaceful and quiet, and he took us down through some of the quieter canals, and it just really was a neat little trip, and I think everyone enjoyed that. With possibly the younger ones were a little bored, I don't know, but Robin thoroughly enjoyed it. Nancy and I certainly did. And so then we came back to St. Mark's Square, and then we had a lot of fun with the pigeons, because St. Mark's Square is inundated with pigeons. They have hundreds of pigeons in St. Mark's Square. It's part of the color of St. Mark's Square. And so Brian and Becca were particularly anxious to feed the pigeons, and they sold corn there that you can buy packs of and feed the pigeons. And so we did that for a while and strolled around and looked at some of the shops. And again, it was just another part of a really beautiful day. But it was getting kind of late, so we decided we really should start to head back. It was about 5:30, I suppose. And so we headed over to the dock area where the boats come. They actually have boats that come there in the same way as buses pull up to a main station. And different buses go in different directions and make, some are kind of more direct bus trips, and some are local, make all the stops on the way and things like that, go in different directions. Well, the boats here were just like that in that sense. There are several different boats coming into the main dock and main area, and they would then, some would be more direct and take 10 or 15 or 20 minutes to get to your destination, whereas others would make local stops and all these kind of things. So I went up and had to get tickets for the boat. So I was waiting in line to get tickets for the boat. And Nancy and the girls were strolling down to get to the boat area, and all of a sudden I realized that Brian wasn't there. And then he looked around, and here he had run ahead, and he had seen the boat waiting there, and he had gone ahead and gotten on a boat. The only problem with getting on the boat like that is that it was pulling out. It was just getting ready to pull out, and indeed it did. And so the boat pulled out with 4 of us in horror as Brian took off on this boat for God knows where. And we didn't know where, we couldn't stop the boat, and we didn't know where they were going, and we didn't speak any Italian, and so we had a little bit of a problem. And as I say, the only thing we could think about later was that Papa and Uncle Irv and Aunt Barbara are really going to enjoy hearing about this. So here we are, standing in the dock with the boat disappearing in the distance with our son on it. And we didn't know where it was going. So I went back and tried to talk to the ticket dispenser, and he understood what our problem was, I believe. But he also tried to convey to us not to worry, that the boats come and go every 10 minutes or so, and it'll probably only be a 10-minute ride or something like that. Maybe he'll be back. Well, that was our hope against hope. We tried to figure out, do we all stay there, or do we split up and some of us take the boat that we're supposed to take over to the parking area in hopes that maybe that's where he went and we'll be there? Or do we all wait together because there'll be no way, or in a parking area, half of us over there to communicate with the other half, and it was just a big mess. So we decided to wait there together, and of course we were quite anxious about what happened to Brian, and if he would be back. There was some thought given to hopping on the boat anyhow, and taking off, and maybe that would take care of our problems with Brian. But that was one of the things we joked about later. But in any event, we did wait, and time went by, and about half an hour or so, and there's still no Brian. So we were panicking more and more, and so I talked to the ticket agent again, and he had a young helper there that seemed very, very anxious to help us. And so I had told them that I wanted to see the Carabinieri, that's the National Police, if they could tell me where their police station would be located. So the young guy took me over to the police station, and again we encountered a language problem because they didn't speak any English, but right near there, the police station is a hotel, and so we went in there, and one of the receptionists spoke English, and he served as our translator and conveyed to them what our problem was, and they agreed, as I had asked, which was the intent, was to call all of the stations where the boats go into and alert them to the fact that there's a missing towhead. So they agreed to do that, and this young man who was helping me and myself headed back then to the dock area. And just as we got back to the dock area, here's Brian. He had returned. So I immediately, of course, was concerned about having alerted the police, and this young man said, not important, don't worry about it. So we took off then and got on our boat and went on our merry way. Very relieved to have gotten Brian back, but at the same time, still quite upset and angry. But I managed to control myself until we got back to the parking lot, which time I conveyed to Brian my somewhat strong sense of dissatisfaction with his exuberant behavior in not waiting for the rest of us. But it was a happy ending, and it was kind of funny looking back on it, and I just knew that you guys would love and appreciate this little story of how Brian took off on a wrong boat without the rest of the family from Venice. So the best thing we could figure out in talking to him was that the two attendants on that particular boat recognized and realized that this boy was on there without his family, and perhaps even asked him for a ticket or something like that. And they were, in fact, responsible for getting him back. And it was one of the boats, again, fortunately, that was only 10 minutes out or so and 10 minutes back, because the one that we actually did take to get back to the parking area took well over half an hour, 45 minutes, making all kinds of local stops, which actually turned out to be very nice because it enabled us then to see a little bit more of Venice that we hadn't already seen. So it was really just a very neat day, with one slight glitch which turned out to be humorous and, in the long run, but at the time it wasn't too funny. So we got back to our car and went back to Vicenza, the U.S. facility there, and managed to get a room for the second night. And we were very, very fortunate with that because, as I mentioned earlier, it was a little bit cheaper than what we would have been able to get had we had to go in the economy. The disadvantage there, of course, is that you lose something by not enjoying the color of the country by staying in one of the, say, the pensions or something like that. But that still wasn't too big a loss, I don't think. So we spent the night there again, and again went to our little cafe across from where we had spent the first night, and had pizza. So we managed to have real Italian spaghetti, as Robin calls it, and real Italian pizza. And it was really quite a nice day, really a lot of fond memories there. And Robin definitely enjoyed Venice. And it's another little notch in trying to win her over. Which, in fact, I don't know that I'll win her over, that she will stay, but she's not nearly as bothered and distressed as she had been when she first got here. So, the next day then, we shopped around a little bit at the facility, at the PX and what have you, and before we set out for a return trip, and we left Vicenza U.S. facility about noon, and headed up towards the Dolomites, towards a resort of Cortina d'Ampezzo, which is a former site, one of the sites of, it was a site of the Winter Olympics, I think, in '56, something like that. But it's a alpine, or not alpine, but Dolomite resort area. And the villages and the towns in between on the way, we were anxious to see. But before we got too far, I knew that we have to find we probably wouldn't have enough petrol to make it back to Germany, where they would have frequent lead-free stations, facilities. So we had to be alert for finding lead-free gas, and shortly after we just were skirting the city of Vicenza. We found Nancy spotted the site, so we got her lead-free gas there. And she wanted to go to a village called Nove, N-O-V-E, where it's a relatively small town, but it's populated by shop after shop after shop of that make and sell each individually the ceramics, and they have supposedly each family has their own kiln, and this is a town noted for its ceramics. Well, it appeared as though that was correct because it was really quite a unique town. Interestingly, however, many of the places, this was on a Monday now, many of the places were closed, and it was like early afternoon, and we couldn't really determine whether that was a holiday or whether it was the afternoon lunch break or midday rest period, whatever. There were a couple of places open we could have stopped, but she was just curious as to what they offered, and she didn't see anything in the windows that they offered that she just absolutely had to have. So we just continued on on up towards the resort areas, and so we drove through the Dolomite region in Italy, and some very, 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 very beautiful countryside and very beautiful towns, and it really was nice. Heading in, we then went further on and went on into Austria. It was somewhat reminiscent of our trip back in '68 when we decided to pass up a couple of possibilities for spending the night because we wanted to press on and try to make some time. We ended up running into the rather late hours, late by European standards of traveling, and almost not having a place to stay. But as it turns out, we did make some time once we got into Austria, and we headed on up. We were trying to not have to do too much driving the next day, Tuesday. So we managed to drive up through Linz, Austria, Cortina d'Ampezzo, then on to Debaccio, and then over to Linz, Debaccio, Italy, and then over into Austria and to Linz, Austria, L-I-E-N-Z, I think it is, Lienz. And then north from there towards Kitzbühel, which is a famous resort in Austria. But as we drove further on, the time was getting away from us, so we decided to stay any place we might find. So we came into a small village which is also a somewhat known resort area, Matrei, M-A-T-R-E-I. And we located a rather attractive-looking, small, and obviously not too expensive guest house. And so I went in, and my best German inquired as to haben Sie ein Doppelzimmer heute Abend? And the gal that was serving as a receptionist and a waitress and everything else into one spoke English, but she allowed me to try my German anyhow. And they did in fact have two rooms that that could accommodate us, and ich habe gefragt auch, I had asked also, wie viel kostet es, and how much does it cost? So it cost about $62 or $63 in shillings, which of course is about the rate that we paid the previous 2 nights at the U.S. facility. So we're getting a nice, comfortable room. There wasn't anything to write home about the room itself. The rooms themselves didn't have a private bath, but that was okay. But what was really nice was you could walk out from the one room that Nancy and I were in onto a balcony and walk around the balcony into the room that the kids had. And the balcony view was just beautiful. It was magnificent. And so that was very, very nice. Now, I'd forgotten to mention the weather actually on Monday, that day that we drove up from Vicenza, and having driven most of the day up to Matrei, just rained most of the way up there. But you're still going through very, very beautiful mountain areas, and it was just, in spite of the rain, still very, very pretty. And I think even the kids enjoyed the views. But now, that night, we had this place also was serving dinner, and so we had dinner there. It's like a restaurant with rooms. But that night, there were several, in fact, it seemed like it was most of the night, severe thunderstorms that kept waking us up. So in terms of the weather, it really did rain a lot. And then the next day was Tuesday, and the day that we were due back, it was Tuesday night, so I was going back to work on Wednesday. And we got up in the morning, and it was still raining and so forth, but it also, the rain had made it very clear across the valley there from the balcony where we were staying, and that was just an incredibly beautiful view with the clarity and the clouds hugging the mountains across the way and stuff like that. So anyhow, we then took off from Atray and headed up towards Kitzbühel, which we had heard a lot about before, and also over towards San Johann im Tirol, St. Johann, Tyrol, and also a very well-known resort and very touristy, but nevertheless, very pretty, and I don't mind being a tourist at all. And then over to the town of Kufstein, where we were wanting to have lunch, in fact, which we did of course, and had a nice meal. Wasn't quite as good as the one we had down in Venice, but it was still nice, and it was a nice setting. And then we took off from Kufstein and got on the Autobahn right outside of Kufstein and brought us back to Munich. So that completed our mini holiday to Italy. Now, I'd gotten carried away here and talking the whole tape about Italy, but that was just, as I said earlier at the outset, something we wanted to try to do as much of, and that is in terms of getting around before school starts, which in fact is day after tomorrow, the 31st. Becca and Brian back to school, return to school, or go to school for the first time in Germany at the local elementary school right here on base in the housing area. So they'll be able to walk to school. Getting back to the housing area, it is very, very quiet in this neighborhood. And naturally, we have to get accustomed to living in a smaller place than what we were accustomed to back home. From the point of view of this is a duplex, but and of course we brought too much. This is only our third time overseas, and each time we seem to bring too much, but we're managed to squeeze it in, I guess. It's just that we've got to be able to have some room to unpack some boxes and some articles of furniture in order to then create some more room. And so that was kind of difficult at first, but we seem to be getting along somewhat. So we're working at trying to get the house sorted out. I just spent today, most of the day, doing my turn at cutting the grass. The other half of the duplex here, the neighbor there, we take turns doing the whole grass cutting, which is not too much at all, obviously. It's probably about as much of both duplexes, the grass area, probably as much as what I had to do for our house in Catonsville. Maybe not quite as much as in Catonsville. Anyhow, cut the grass, had the girls trying to break the grass up, and then ran over and took care of some errands on the base and so forth. So that constituted most of the day, and trying to work it down at my desk and get papers sorted out, file cabinet organized and things like that, and to make a tape back to Pennsylvania to tell about our wonderful holiday and mini holiday in Italy with our one incident that we knew that you would thoroughly enjoy. So I see that I'm getting near the end of the tape on this one side, so I'm going to cut off for now on this side, and then continue on the other side. No matter how much tape I may have left, it still does look like it's near the end. So I'll pause for now. And it's now 10:20 p.m. and we have just had our little late dinner, and now I have Brian David Keel here with me, and he's going to tell you a few things about, what do you think about Germany, Brian? No,
Well, it's okay.
Do you have a lot of friends or no?
Yeah.
Who? Yeah.
Jay, Robert, Ashley, Aaron, Elizabeth, Elias,
Well, that's a fair number. And, no, that's okay. And, so you think you like Germany, or would you rather go home?
well, I like Germany, but I would rather go home.
How come?
Because I like Germany, but I like America best.
So do I. And are you going to go to school the day after tomorrow?
Yeah,
What happens when you go to school?
nothing much in the first day.
You looking forward to your new school?
Kind of.
What's your teacher's name?
Mr. Young.
Think it'll be nice?
Yeah. Some of the kids tell me that he's going to be nice, and some of them say that he's not going to be nice. Most of them say that he's not going to be nice.
Really?
And one of them said that he's in the middle.
Let's see now. Do you want to tell Papa and Aunt Barbara and Uncle Irv, Bobby and Bradley about your trip to Italy? Okay, we'll do that then too. Do you want to tell them about soccer?
Yeah. And today I had soccer tryouts and we just kept rotating. We shot for the goal.
This is your first
We
first
dribbled
soccer?
and shot at the. We dribbled and shot at the goal and just shot at the goal.
Think you'll like the soccer team?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Ellis is on. Huh? Elizabeth Ellis? Oh, she's on the team. Very good. Okay, do you want to tell them about Venice and your trip to Italy? Yeah, come on. You ride in the gondola?
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah. Except it was pretty boring.
It was. How come?
Well, all there was to do is just walk. And just sit there.
Just sit and look? Did you
Yeah,
tell,
because there was hardly any walking, any fun.
Did you tell them about driving the boat? in the morning when we went over there, remember? Man let you steer the boat.
Mhm.
How about coming back? Evening.
Mhm.
Huh?
Coming back, going there was as long as an hour to me, but going back seemed longer than an hour.
What'd you think of the restaurant there?
It was nice, and it had 4 or 5 turtles that I liked. They had these 2 red dots on the side of their heads.
What'd you have for dinner there? He's down here with me. Okay, we're back again. And what'd you have for lunch here at the restaurant, Brian?
Spaghetti.
Was it as good as back home?
No.
It wasn't. That's not what Robin said. She said it's the best spaghetti she's ever had.
Mom's is the best.
Mom's is the best? Mom's spaghetti is better than the Italian spaghetti?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. What else you want to tell them about Venice?
I can't remember anything else.
You can't remember anything else? You got some corn?
Oh yeah, for the birds, and if you just put your hand down for a minute, then they look at look at your food, look at the food you have, then put your hand up, then they'll fly up on your hand.
Yeah, you had a couple pigeons in your hand, didn't you?
As much as I got was 3.
Anything else exciting happened in Venice? Huh?
I can't remember.
Can't remember anything? How about the boat ride? You had your own private boat ride, didn't you?
What? Oh yeah.
Want to tell them about that? You don't want to tell them about that? Oh, they don't like hearing about that. Go ahead and tell them.
No.
Yeah, go ahead and tell them.
No.
No, go ahead. Come on. Okay, we're back again, but we got the dishwasher. Brian's turning this thing off, and I'm trying to keep it going here. Nancy came down and turned the washing machine on, so I hope that doesn't interfere too much with the sound in the background. So anything else you want to talk about, son? Huh?
No. Well, can't remember anything. Oh yeah, in Italy we stayed at this guest house thing that you had to pay $5 extra to have pets in there.
Oh yeah, all right. And what about the fest we went to last night? You want to tell them about that as well?
It was a fun fest, except the Oktoberfest is going to have bigger tents.
Should we ask him to come over for the Oktoberfest?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Say, Papa, I want you to come over here for the Oktoberfest.
Papa, I want you to come over here for the Oktoberfest.
Starts September 19th. No, it starts September 19th and goes into October 4th. Okay, you're going up now. All right, hold your pajamas. Here, wait a minute. Here, take this up. Hold your pajamas up and then show it to Mom. Well, let's see. Brian didn't want to tell you about the extra boat ride that he had. Said it was too embarrassing. But he doesn't know that his dad already spilled the beans. Anyhow, getting back then, I don't want to belabor all these points so much because I'll take up the whole tape without getting into anything else. Barbara, I know that you were upset, obviously, about your job that you had for the week and how you just felt as though you couldn't tolerate it. And we were sorry to hear that. And yet, know how you feel sometimes about things like that. There have been many times when I wanted to pack it in. And just say the hell with it, go on and do something that I might not mind doing as much. So I think the main thing is you have to do what you feel right about. So anyhow, I'm sorry I had to go through such a painful ordeal there. Don't mean to dwell on all of our things so much, but after all, I guess that's what we are familiar with. And speaking of the job, it makes me think of, I don't know that I've said that much about the job here. As you know, I guess I was pretty apprehensive about the job, and still am to some extent. It is pretty overwhelming. It covers the waterfront in so many different fields, disciplines that I don't have the depth in. And yet I've realized that I think the main ingredient that goes into this job is a matter of using one's judgment. Because we do have specialists in each of the areas that do seem to know their area of expertise, and so therefore I have to rely on their input and then make sound judgments as to which direction to go in some cases and things like that. So I think that it'll come along in time, and it's not quite as frightening today as it was, say, 30 days ago, or even in anticipation of it before I came over. And I think everybody's really kind of settling down in many different respects. I chatted with Robin just this morning. We went out to run some errands and then ended up having a little brunch, late breakfast at our burger bar, just the two of us. So I asked her how she felt about this by this time, about being here in Germany, and she said she feels still the same, that she wants to go home, but she does feel as though she's coping a little bit better now than she had before, or something like that. Well, I think all of us are really making the adjustments to different aspects. It's hard to compare the experience this time with the previous two that we had overseas, and yet it's inevitable that you will naturally compare with previous overseas assignments. The disadvantage here, maybe we mentioned it before, of course, is living in a military community basically, and living on base in the U.S. family housing area, as contrasted with previous two experiences where we lived in British community, makes you get a little bit less than what you would like out of the assignment, out of the tour, from the point of view of mixing and absorbing the local culture. But on the other hand, there are a lot of advantages to being here on the military community or U.S. family housing area. The proximity to school and to a lot of the activities and the facilities here of the base. Whereas before in England we were 7 to 10, about 10 miles away from the convenience of the facilities on the base. So there are some advantages to being here in this kind of environment. And of course the major advantage that Munich has over Harrogate is simply its location. And the city itself, of course, is quite nice. But aside from that, we're able to get out and do a lot of the things that we look forward to doing by coming to Germany. And I've certainly enjoyed and probably had more than my share of the German beer. Which reminds me of about last night. Well, I have to back up a minute. When we first got here, the chap that I was replacing, among many other things, we had a lot of social activities that were going on at the particular time because it happened to be July. There were a couple of picnics. And there were a couple of hail and farewells, hailing us and others that just came in this summer and farewelling some of those that we were replacing that were leaving. So there were a lot of opportunities to go out and eat out at local restaurants and that sort of thing. But in addition to that, the chap I was replacing mentioned this one particular group that band
that the folks in our office like to follow because they're quite good and they're quite diverse, and they have a range of music instead of just doing, they play at a lot of the fests, the local fests. So instead of playing just the regular oompa material, they have a range of tunes that they play, even some Glenn Miller music. So I mentioned this, and as it turns out, we had the opportunity to sit in on one of the fests where the group was playing, and we really did like them, and they were quite right. They really are a good group. So we had gotten information that they were going to be playing at a village near Ingolstadt, which is about 45 minutes from here, 45 minutes to an hour north of here, on the way to Nuremberg. So we decided that would be nice, since it's a Friday night, to take the kids to and give them a little bit of flair for what a fest is like. Well, essentially a fest can be broken down into two major parts. One are the rides and the arcade kinds of things that you would find at say Ocean City Boardwalk area or something like that. And the other half is the large beer tent where the band was playing, and you could buy some food and that sort of thing. Well, we were interested in one half, and the kids were interested in the other half, but we managed to do both, and I think they enjoyed themselves to some extent, but we really enjoy this particular group. And as it turns out, they're playing again a little bit closer to us on Friday, the 11th of September, so we'll probably go again. Only that time we'll probably just take Robin, because I think she somewhat enjoyed it, and the group itself, the band, she probably enjoyed. But Becca and Brian, of course, were more interested in the rides, and I don't think they're terribly enthused about going back again. We just wanted to take them that one time so that they could say that they'd been to a fest. But in the large beer hall, the tent, are a lot of picnic table type setups, and they have on the sides they have people selling chicken is very popular, fried chicken here in Bavaria, or as I prefer, some of the Wurst, such as Bratwurst, Lebenswurst, and Rindswurst, and etc. So we got there last night, and immediately we were kind of hungry, so we immediately ordered some Wurst and sauerkraut with mustard, and a Semmel, which is a roll, and then some Kartoffelsalat, potato salad on the side, and of course then had a mass, as they call it, which is a liter of beer. And I can't think of too many things that can top that kind of combination, along with the good music in the background, which is kind of loud, of course, but and of course the one group is so good that towards the latter part of the evening, after having had a bit of beer, one tends to feel inclined to join in the singing, even to the point of getting up on the tables and dancing, which some younger people do, and occasionally you'll see an old fart doing the same thing. So I didn't do it last night, but the first one we had gone to was that kind of an evening where I did get up and join the rest of the crowd in dancing on top of the table. So it's really kind of typical of Bavarian fun to go to a fest, and those were a couple of preliminary events, I guess, and this one on September 11th that we'll go again. But then the big one comes, which begins September 19th and continues through October 4th, and that's, of course, the world-famous Munich Oktoberfest. I'm not sure I'm really looking forward to it, because I understand it's so crowded that takes away a little bit from it, probably. And a lot of people have said that the local smaller fests in the area are much nicer. And certainly the two that we've been to now, that's certainly true. trying to think of other things that, I know it's quite often the case that when you're sitting there listening to the tape, you wish you could ask some questions. There's certain things that you're interested in knowing about, and the person's making the tape in the first instance doesn't think of all those points, and so you end up being a little bit frustrated in that you're wondering how this is going or what's going on there and so forth. And Nitwit over here forgot to bring it up. But basically, I think that's essentially the things that have been going on in our lives since the last tape. Showed a lot of other details that I just simply had forgotten about. But it really would be nice if we had some visitors, and we could get Papa especially to come over here. Maybe bring Aunt Barbara and spend a couple weeks or so, or maybe even a couple of months. Because I think you really would enjoy it. It's really just very, very pleasant to go out and see him do things and enjoy the culture and so forth. Brian has returned, and I think maybe he has something he wanted to tell you about. Yeah? Did you come down and tell him about G.I. Joe?
No. It's just, did you throw this in the trash can?
Did I throw it in the trash can? No.
Your mom did. I'm not sure.
You are. What are you going to tell everybody what you're looking forward to in school? Well, I don't think maths. Maths?
Math?
Mathematics. Arithmetic.
No.
What's this girl's name next door here?
Erin?
No, over there. You met her?
Well, just tell me her name.
She's going to be in 3rd grade too.
Just tell me her name.
I don't know. I just saw her today, but I didn't hear. She didn't say what her name was. I said hello to her daddy. You don't know what her name is.
Do you know where she lives?
Right next door.
I mean, in the same duplex?
No, right over here, not duplex there. See, everything's duplex.
Oh, it's probably Christine.
Oh yeah, I think I was Christine. Do you like her?
No.
Okay. All right. Dad's going to go through here and see if he can find some notes.
Some old notes.
That'll remind me of things to tell you about. Well, some of the places we've been downtown, the Deutsches Museum, I can't remember. I think we may have told you about that before. I can't remember when we sent the other tape, which is a fabulous museum. It's much like the Smithsonian, but it's really just an incredibly nice, very interesting museum. So we've been down to see that, spent one day there doing that. We also went in, of course, to the Frauenkirche, which is the Church of Our Lady, I think, is what that means. Frauen is lady, or Frau is lady, and Frauen is ladies, or of the lady, and Kirche is church, Frauenkirche. That's the double-domed church that's a landmark site in Munich, which was destroyed in the war but rebuilt in its original form, or intended to be in its original form. We've also went to see the Glockenspiel, which is the movement, the town hall tower movements that they have, that they run at 11 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock, I think, in the afternoon. We're there at 11 o'clock, and that was very nice to see that. Big, large square, the Marienplatz, Mary's place. It was very nice there with the Glockenspiel. We also had lunch at the Rathaus, which is a town hall restaurant downstairs, converted to part of the building into a restaurant. And had lunch there one day. We tried to get into the residence, which was in fact the residence, I believe, of the, I think it's, I'm going to embarrass myself here, but royal family up until 1910 or 11 or something like that. We've been to, we may have told you this before, can't remember, we've been to Starnberger See. That was right after we got here. So I know we must have told you about that. But then since then, of course, we've been down to Neuschwanstein, which is the castle, King Ludwig II, one of the 3 or 4 castles that he had built, that Disney World is modeled after. And that was just an astounding feat to see that all the work that they had done to build that castle on the side of the mountain. Another absolutely gorgeous view from the castle across the valley, and I can see why he chose that particular site. So that was another day trip that we had made. And then of course we did run down to Garmisch a couple of times and had dinner there, and it's really one of our favorite spots, I guess, as far as towns are concerned. Okay, let's see. Brian says he's making his Christmas list. I don't know if he wanted me to hint to you with that. Was that a hint? Are you making a hint?
What?
I don't know.
What? To telling them?
Yeah.
To telling them like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyhow, we moved in here on the 5th of August, and it was quite a sight to see trying to fit too much furniture into such a small place. But I think we're coping with that after all. We've had I had a business trip that I went up to Stuttgart for a week. Actually, it wasn't a full week, as it turns out, because I wasn't able to go until Monday of that week, Monday evening, because I had to take care of registering the car first. But I went up that evening and stayed down until Friday, came back Friday. And Stuttgart is about 3 hours from here. And then last weekend, as I already told you about our trip to Italy, and then last night we had a little bit of a drive to listen to this group called Tropical Rain at the fest. And Nancy had agreed to be the DD for the evening, the designated driver, so that I was able to drink my beer, and she abstained for the most part, although she did have a swig or two, but not enough to impair her driving. Come and tell him. Yeah, come on. Come on, Brian, quickly now. You don't have much time. The tape's running out. No, they won't be able to hear that.
Well, at the fest, I also drank 1 liter of
It's called Spatzy,
Spatzy.
which is kind of like a cola, isn't it?
Except mixed in with lemonade.
Yeah, they have lemonade mixed in with the cola, which really makes a nice drink. And if I didn't like the beer so much, I'd probably enjoy the Spatzy myself. But I really enjoy the
Oh,
beer.
you never tasted it.
Yes, it did.
Oh. Put it down here.
So we have several visitors coming, in the form of business visitors, that is, TDYers, because this is a popular year and season for people to come to TDY. It's the end of the fiscal year to begin with, so they can get rid of the money that they may have had. And of course, it's around Oktoberfest time, so I'm sure several of them are making a trip for that reason. I'll be going back up to Stuttgart for another conference in early October. Actually, it's the late September, leaving the 28th on Monday and coming back that Friday or maybe Thursday. And this particular time, Nancy's going to go along, and they have some activities for spouses at this particular conference. I think that's just about it. I had planned to take some leave next week. I'll be taking off Thursday and Friday, and then the day after Labor Day, so that I'll be getting rid of some of my leave that way, and at the same time it'll be breaking up the week and allowing me, in this particular case, we'll stay home, allow me to help catch up on some of the moving in and unpacking that we still have to do, lots to do yet. So I'll be looking forward to having that free time. But for now, I guess that's about it. I can't think of anything else new and exciting here. I'll continue with my broken record pitch to get you to come over and visit us, Dad. And I know that you would really, really, really enjoy it here. There's just so much that to do, and all within day trips from here. And I'd be more than happy, obviously, to chauffeur around. And all you've got to do really is to, virtually do nothing, because, I guess you would want to do your own packing, but you pack, and then, as we've talked about before, Irv gets you to the airport. He takes care of checking your luggage in. The luggage is checked all the way through till you get on this side. I pick you up, and so you don't even have to unpack your suitcase. We'll do that for you. And the airlines assured us that they'll escort you between flights if necessary, although if you were to fly the Baltimore flight through London to Frankfurt, I'd simply meet you at Frankfurt, pick you up there, so you wouldn't even have to change planes. Of course, you don't have to fly TWA, as I do, because you're paying for it yourself as opposed to the government doing it, so therefore you could fly Lufthansa, which we understand offers much, much better service. The only other thing I can think of is that in the Stars and Stripes newspaper, which is what is published for the Americans in Europe, well, worldwide, I guess, they advertise from time to time, and they just had one in again yesterday, lower rates from certain cities on TWA. Well, I'm not sure it's TWA, but anyhow, it's for military and their dependents and their family, including parents and brothers and sisters and so forth. So the one-way rate that they were advertising yesterday's paper was $229 from Baltimore to Frankfurt. So, that's a lot more appealing than $600 round trip. That would be, of course, $230 each way for $460. But that's just the one small part of it, I think, because once you pay for the flight, and it is an expense to pay for that flight, but once you pay for that and you get over here, you shouldn't have too many expenses at all, other than those things that you would like to buy as souvenirs or gifts or whatever. So I think the main thing is that I know that you were concerned about before is your health and your ability to travel, and what happens if you get over here and you need medical attention. On that latter point, I've inquired about that also, and I don't see that there's any problem. I don't know why you had that concern, but most of the people here, by the way, prefer the German medical facilities. For example, we had a young guy that just came in, reported last month also, or early this month, and his wife is very pregnant. She's due in September, and they've already planned to go to the local German hospital for delivery. But most people just rave about the German medical treatment. So, again, I can't think of any reason that wouldn't be good for you to come over here, and we would certainly enjoy having you. Of Christmas time would be a good time. Oktoberfest, if you could come over here right now, get here in time for Oktoberfest, I know you'd really enjoy that. Or too much beer drinking, Brian says. Well, I guess we all have to make sacrifices. Way too much. But we all have to make sacrifices, I guess, for being sociable, and so trying to do my part. Okay, well, that's about it for now. I think I'm going to close and going up to bed. It is kind of late, as Brian says. It's 2 minutes of 11. And if I can talk anybody into finishing this tape up on this side tomorrow on Sunday, there will be more to follow. Otherwise, you will have a blank tape for the rest of this side. Do let us know how things are going back there, and do try to think about coming over if you can. I know it seems expensive, but it's really not all that bad once you, aside from the flight. Okay, that's about it. Over and out. You have anything you want to say, boy, real fast?
No.
Okay.
Wait, my Christmas list.
What's your Christmas list?
Well.
Come on over here.
These are the things that I don't.
Well, you have to come on over here.
These are the things I don't want to get from Santa Claus because I already have a long list for him. All the stuff here is G.I. Joe stuff. The devilfish. The G.I. Joe battle gear. Silver Mirage motorcycle. Sergeant Slaughter with Triple T. Snowcat. Conquest X30. Two of these things I know that you're not. One of them I know you're not going to be able to get. The USS Flag aircraft carrier. That's over $100. Maybe the transportable tactical battle platform. And the Mauler MBT tank. Here's the Cobra enemy stuff. The Hydrofoil Murray and the Night Landing. Cobra Night Raven. And the Rifle Range. And the Dreadnought Thunder Machine. And one more thing. The Cobra Terror drone with Firebat. And that's all.
That's all. Gee.
But
Okay, run along.
what do you mean?
Seems like a lot.
Okay, I'll write them
Give
down.
Dad a hug, a kiss.
I'm going to go a longer list than this for Santa.
Give a kiss for Aunt Barbara and Uncle Irv. I don't think they got that. You just blew your kiss. Okay. Oh, you're going to come back? Okay. There, I think they got that one. How about Papa?
Huh?
One for Papa. One for Bradley and Bobby. How about Michelle? Good night, boy.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that is it this time. So I'll say auf Wiedersehen. Or auf Wiederhören means, I think you say auf Wiederhören when you say goodbye on the telephone. So auf Wiedersehen or auf Wiederhören, and we'll look forward to seeing you when you come over here to visit. And let's have a tape from you guys. Take care.